Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have an XDC update video for you guys today. Before we go into it, don't forget of course to check out the other videos on the channel and make sure you subscribe if you have not done so already. Massively appreciate a big thumbs up for the channel as well, helps the algorithm, gets out to more people. Let's go straight into this main topic. So this news particularly, it's a few days old now, like 3 or 4 days old. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. I'm just catching up this weekend, finally getting the ability to do some more videos with the extra time I've got. So it's been a while, apologies. But with XDC, of course, it's one of my favorite technology projects in the blockchain crypto sphere, particularly the interest in the trade finance sector or the trade network arm of its business. So obviously Zimfin being the kind of overarching company and broken into various sort of, I wouldn't call it subsidiaries, but different mechanisms of what XDC is about. But the XDC network is one of the definite prominent aspects of the blockchain itself, as it says here, enterprise grade level layer 1. When we first covered XDC on the channel a few years back, it was really interesting to me to see that kind of branch off of the private blockchain and a public blockchain. It was kind of known as a hybrid, and since then it has really evolved significantly. It's got some great advisors, got great people involved, great team as well, of course, which I've been very fortunate to have met on a couple of occasions in previous events. But this news in particular, I don't know if anyone remembers the last couple of XDC videos we've been doing. We talked about this, I can never maybe pronounce it correctly, but Archax, the prominence of this, why it was important as a partnership and an integration. And we talked about the tokenization, not just of general sort of NFT assets and things like this, but actually incorporating the world's kind of investment applications as well. So one thing that's really standing out quite well in this particular topic is the money market fund. So the money market fund, or in this aspect of the tokenization of it, is really interesting. So this partnership with Archax, which is a UK-based FCA regulated digital asset exchange. I'll leave this article in the description below so you can have a good read through it. I'm not going to read it for word, but I'll definitely pull out some of those key parts of it. But in particular, the funds, these market funds. So for those that don't know what MMF is, it's a money market fund. So this is kind of essentially a mutual fund. It's based on sort of short-term investments, low risk application. So things like certificates, deposits, etc., etc. So why is the tokenization of MMF important? Well, the aspect of it really is integrating the elements of blockchain that it can essentially support it with. So we talk about it all the time with blockchain in terms of liquidity, the lower costs because of the ability of blockchain to be able to suffice transactions on a lower fee capability, even on a cross-border perspective as well, of course. So removing intermediaries is obviously helpful, lowering fees in general, and essentially improving the efficiency in that area. We've got the faster settlements. This is a big part in general blockchain. It's not generic to just XDC. This is on pretty much most blockchains, if not all blockchains, the ability to have those faster settlements. So we talk about transactions per second, for example, is one of those key kind of factors. And that's really important when we're looking at real-time transactions, the transparency of those, and also cross-border. And you've got the global interoperable aspect. So we know that XDC works heavily with a lot of other projects and companies out there. But for itself, and when we're talking about the application of MMF in there, from a worldwide perspective, that's really important. And fractional ownership, we talked about this in the past on many different projects. I always kind of like the really cool example of diamonds. This concept came to me firstly through Hedera with the diamond standard, and the ability to open up very interesting markets that not many people were either aware of or didn't know that they could actually be investing in more easily than ever before. So the diamond market, I think, can't remember the exact numbers, obviously a multi-trillion-dollar market. but I think it's only like 1% of the existing supply worldwide of diamonds is used for investing, which is incredible. Imagine if you opened all that up, but also it doesn't mean you have to go and buy a whole diamond. You can buy a fraction of it. So that principle is exactly the same for any other element of physical or digital asset. So that fractional ownership is also something that can be part of MMF. So we're looping that back round. A prime example really could be a large company that has a lot of cash reserve, and rather than having it just in the bank and potentially earning like really poor interest, I know it's probably more interest than we would get in our savers accounts these days, but in general, they will maybe want that money to do the work for it. And that's kind of a principle we've always had on the channel, and that concept was arguably provided to me years ago when watching Cheeky Crypto, and they were talking about let the money do the work for you in terms of staking, right? We're not talking about staking here, but instead of this cash being idle in the account, they can essentially utilize this money in the money market funds. So essentially, whilst preserving some of that capital, they can also be earning potential return, and in some instances could be substantial. So an argument to that is it's low risk. So they tend to be invested in like high liquidity and low risk assets. We mentioned a couple of earlier, like commercial papers. I think like treasury bills probably come into that format as well. Yield generation, of course. Companies can earn essentially return on that idle capital. And also from the liquidity perspective, I think it's quite interesting. It can quickly access the funds when needed to, of course, cover things like payroll or potential issues with supplier payments or unexpected expenses. So do you know like those ISAs that you can get, or in the UK they're called ISAs, I don't know what they're in other countries, but you tend to be able to withdraw when you need to. So you could be saving like very regularly, but then you might have a really bad month and you need to withdraw some of that back. Some savings accounts may offer like a higher interest rate, but they only allow you maybe like 2 or 3 withdrawals in a year. A lot of them not necessarily unlimited, but some of them or some of the good ones out there, yes, they might have a lower percentage yield rate or an APR return, but they do allow you that flexibility. So it's a kind of similar principle to that. So of course the tokenization aspect of that, as we talked about the blockchain elements to that, you've got the cross-border efficiency, the real-time access, and the automated treasurer operations as well. So automated cash management if you wanted it, essentially as a business perspective, but also when needed can be withdrawn as well. So it's a very powerful mechanism in terms of investing. It's low risk. That's important, of course. You don't want companies making loads of profit and then putting it all into like stock market and things, trying to make a load of money. I think that might be even illegal anyway, but MMFs, I believe, is a very legal stance to this. So we're looping this back around to XDC with Archax, I think is how it's pronounced. They are allowing the tokenization of the market funds. But what's really stand out for me is the management of them. So I think you've got the likes of Fidelity International, you've got BlackRock. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that, right? Now available in the tokenized form on the XDC Network platform. So when we're talking about, well, why is this interesting to me, or why is this important as an investor? Well, there you go. More and more utility of XDC is awakening on a monthly or weekly basis. And now we've got some really interesting case studies here, or indeed reality. Like this is real world now, of being able to provide that institutional investor with secure and compliant access to high quality and pretty much, yield generating assets through blockchain technology. And XDC is a big part of that. I haven't really done a massive amount of research just yet into what other networks have progressed in this area, but being a holder of XDC and doing videos of XDC, of course, it's only prudent that I bring this to everyone's attention. So I kind of wanted to look into, I did a bit of extra research. I said, well, why is this important also to investors? I've just mentioned a few of them, but this development kind of also has another significant element to it. So the growing demand of the institutional investor for I guess, regulation or regulated assets, regulated elements, availability in the crypto world. Yes, this is improving all the time. New frameworks, standardizations, legalizations, etc., etc. But currently, there are roughly $11.5 billion worth in tokenized real-world assets now on chain, with projections estimating the value could hit $16 trillion by 2030. The tokenization of MMFs represents a substantial step forward, integrating traditional financial instruments with the blockchain technology. I think that was from Business Wire as well within this article. I think I was reading it further down, or if not, I think when I was doing my research for this video. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I was literally the second paragraph. I was looking down here, but I was reading off my notes. So yeah, that is unbelievable, really, if we think about it in that way. But as this ecosystem grows, and it's attracting the institutional element, this is where the real money comes in, guys. Not retail money like you and I, institutional level. And opening up that MMF is essentially opening up, as it says, the access to tokenized real-world assets cost effectively and efficiently. I mean, yeah, you can't really quantify like what that could do to the XDC price as more and more of this continues. We have done previous videos. In fact, the last video, I think I gave sort of 2 or 3 different kind of price predictions, but that was prior to this development. I'm not saying this is going to make XDC explode over the next few days or weeks, but it's something to keep in mind. For, as I've kind of repeat myself here many times, a lot of investments that I hold aren't just for short term or to try and get quick trades. Even in this year, this is going to be a big year, but for the future, when everything gets turned on by 2030, or these new frameworks are coming together, along with AI, IoT, 4G, 5G, etc., etc., it ticks the box of being ready and having the application already there. So when people are looking for crypto assets to invest in, like top main ones, yes, of course, they can look at XRP and Ethereum, etc., etc. They will also see some substantial movements in various different sectors that are now adopting significantly the element of blockchain technology, DLT technology. And I think this is phenomenal. I think this is a fantastic move, a fantastic integration, evolution, for a better word, of the XDC network and the ongoing partnership, as it says here, with Archax. And in fact, it might even be in Business Wire, where we use that as an example of that conversation a while back. I have to have a look, because I know there's the last couple ones here. Future Global Trade Finance we talked about a couple of months ago. So yeah, I'll have to have a look. Here we go. Archax integration, $30 trillion market. That is perhaps $30 trillion of that. 16 trillion could be the MMF now, or added on. So you can see these partnerships. We talked about it 2 months ago in that video. Go check it out, and I'll give a bit more of a foundation to this video as well. But yeah, I find it interesting. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Let's spend a couple of minutes now jumping into the chart. As I said, we're not going to expect, or I'm not expecting at least, any significant movements. We're in a bit of a bear cycle at the moment. So it does take a lot to sort of get the excitement going in some of the tokens that we have at our disposal. You see, even 3 or 4 days ago, yes, okay, there was a spike back up to 9 cents, but it retraced itself back down to around 8, which is, as we're recording today, where we are sat right now. Currently floating. I know it looks a bit messy, but just to give a brief overview, got a bit of a longer term chart here, more of a macro level, and a medium term also, looking at some of the higher and lower points, and that gives us the fib levels that give me a good indication personally of buying and selling areas. For me, XDC, I was buying a lot around these sort of 2-3 cent marks. I haven't been doing so much when it was up here at 15 cents, or even really too much at this moment in time either. I'm just seeing if there's going to be more stability, if I want to take up an extra bit of allocation, or see if we dip back down potentially around 7.5, maybe come and retest the 6 cent again at some point as well, because we are in that downward trajectory. I know people don't always want to talk about the negativity. They always want to talk about the FOMO and the excitement, but we do have to understand as well that we are heavily overpurchased in this short period of time between November and December 2024. Took a reduction, upscaled again. So we've got two levels really that we need to play out here. Now, if we can stabilize over this 7.5, 8 cent mark or around this area, wow, we're going to have a really good 2025 for XDC in my opinion. If we come down, that's not to say we won't still have a good one, but it just gives us a bit of extra ammunition to really blast off and try and penetrate those previous sort of 15, 16 marks. And hopefully, touch wood, in 2025, we might see a new all-time high for XDC, well over that 20 cent mark. If you remember the previous videos, we were kind of looking and anticipating at least between sort of 32 and 50 cent mark in 2025. We're not majorly far off that really, to be honest. We're almost pretty much a third of the way from this level, and obviously around about a fifth from up here. So it's not too much that needs to be happening in XDC in terms of announcements, further integrations. Obviously a bull market helps for us to be able to do that. So we saw that come very nicely, almost pretty much halfway to those longer term, or the first minimal target there, and only 5 cents off the previous all-time high. So I'm very ambitious, very excited, very confident about XDC, not just as a protocol and a network, but its positioning in the charts as well. For the short term, as I've said, I wouldn't be surprised if we come and potentially retest the 7 or 7.2 cent mark, maybe even retest the 6.4 and slightly lower than that. Who knows? Because if you look at the back in the data points, even back here in 2023, there wasn't a lot of testing momentum around this area. The last time we could go back to that point is back here in 2022. So it's going good in my opinion. I think the key thing for me right now is if you're new to XDC or you're potentially looking at in entry points, this is not financial advice, but it's sort of opinionated based on what I see in front of me. As I said, about stability is really important, but the RSIs on the left hand side here, this is more intuitive for me in the next couple of days to say if it's staying around this area, I probably will accumulate some. That doesn't mean throw all my money in. I will DCA in with the anticipation that we potentially might come down lower. But I think in the long run, 7 or 8 cents going up to that sort of 32 to 50 cent mark is actually a very good initial return. When we start looking at the bigger numbers, whether these come in 2025 or 2028, 2030 is another question. But again, 8 cents to either of these levels is, in my opinion, a really good position to have at these early stages. Yes, of course, we would always look back and go, I wish I had some more at 2 or 3 cents, but we just never know at these moments in time when we're in them. We don't have the crystal ball. The performance indicators on the right hand side here are looking still quite positive. I think it's actually one of the better performing assets out there, even though this bear cycle that we're in currently, it hasn't affected it too much. I mean, the weak indicator here is fairly strong, even though it's in a negative position, and same with the month. But this is the one I'm interested in the 3 months, because if you look at a lot of the other assets out there, the 3-month ratings aren't very good. So it just shows you how further up XDC accelerated in that 6 month to a year period, but equally on the way down, it is taking its time, because I think people are really reacting to XDC now. If you went back 2 years ago, a lot of people didn't know about it, didn't hear about it, didn't know what it was. I think now more than ever before, more people do. And I think it's one of those assets that's really not easy, but it's definitely the easier of many others out there that are really prominent projects and technologies in this space and what they're going to achieve in the space, to get them at these low prices and accumulate as much as you can. Because I think in those few years to come, whether it is the end of this year or in a few years' time, we will look back at these numbers and almost laugh at them, in my opinion. Yeah, we might return to these in bear markets, like proper bear markets, but in the cycles, the bull market, I think we'll be flying. And let us know what you think in the comments below about all of that. Wrapping it up now, guys. That's XDC's update video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.